Mysterious ships that crash into Earth are said to be nothing more than weather balloons or test planes by our government. But we know the truth. Alien life is among us, hidden from us, and we have the evidence to prove it. Today, we will look through our history to find the many instances showing the existence of extraterrestrials and the cover-ups by the United States government. And if you don't believe us, you're an idiot. We will spend most of our time on the Roswell, New Mexico incident of 1947, perhaps the most conclusive example of aliens on Earth. In June of that year, there was a crash on the property of Mac Brazel's ranch. On July 7th, Brazel took the debris to Sheriff George Wilcox, saying that it was otherworldly and likely from a UFO. He has also claimed that there were alien bodies on the scene. Wilcox then alerted Colonel Butch Blanchard of the Roswell Army Airfield. He contacted General Roger W. Ramey, who ordered Major Jesse Marcel to inspect the crash site and collect the materials. After the inspection, Blanchard ordered Lieutenant Walker Hott to issue a press release stating that a, quote, flying saucer was found. However, that same day, the Air Force suddenly changed their story. Ramey looked at the wreckage and concluded that it was a weather balloon, ordering the newspaper to label it as such. Brazel then said that the debris was merely rubber strips, tinfoil, a rather tough paper, and sticks, likely pressured by the government to keep it a secret. He had told radio host Frank Joyce about what he really found, and the interview was going to air before receiving phone calls from the FCC and Senator Dennis Chavez. They demanded that it would never air, so it didn't. The government reportedly forced Brazel to recant his statements about UFOs. In addition, Colonel Blanchard, the one who ordered the first controversial press release about the flying saucer, strangely went on leave after this. Instead, he reportedly was actually put in charge of the cleanup operation of the crash site, explaining why multiple archaeological digs on the site since then have found nothing. The military also reportedly threatened locals to keep quiet and stormed through people's homes using physical force to search for alien wreckage. Because of these cover-up attempts, the crash was mostly forgot about. 31 years later, Marcel told UFO expert Stanton Friedman that the wreckage was definitely not a weather balloon. He said that the metal, quote, felt like nothing in your hands. It wasn't very thick, but you couldn't bend it or dent it. Even a sledgehammer would bounce off of it. I knew that I'd never seen anything like that before. It was not anything from this earth, that I'm sure of. Being an intelligence officer, I was familiar with just about all materials used in aircraft and or air travel. This was nothing like that. It could not have been, end quote. In other words, you should definitely trust this guy. He is sufficient to warrant a claim. In addition to his statement, there were more than 600 witnesses spanning from civilians to high-level military officials, and multiple of these witnesses reported seeing alien bodies near the crash site. If this many people all recounted similar details about the event, would you doubt that they were telling the truth? However, the government had an explanation for this too. In the mid-1950s, the military tested the dropping of 6-foot-tall plastic dummies onto New Mexico and claimed that this was what people were seeing. However, it doesn't add up at all to how the crash took place in 1947 and how the people described the aliens as little, often 4 feet or less. These 4-foot-tall creatures were described as having large heads, large eyes, only holes for noses, and small slits for the mouth. Obviously, this could only mean aliens. Also, many claimed the metal to be like, quote, memory metal. It was weightless, smooth, thin, and could not be scratched, cut, or burned. It could apparently be temporarily manipulated as well. Years later, when the public asked for the files from the Roswell incident, it was found that all records from January to October of 1947 had been destroyed. Additionally, the person that had the authority to do so was never identified. One last main point of the Roswell incident involves the infamous photo of the debris taken in General Ramey's office, as it had been claimed to have been a hoax. This sealed statement was written by Lieutenant Hott and not supposed to have been opened until after his death. He said that the weather balloon materials replaced the actual crash site materials, and this was what was photographed with Marcel. Both men were told to believe it as such by their superiors, but later they said that they both knew differently. The actual materials were commonly thought to have been transported to the Wright Field Air Force Base, and Sergeant William Ennis was stationed at the hangar where the debris was taken and said that it was simply a weather balloon as well. He continued to state this until 2008, where he admitted to it being from a windowless spaceship. He claimed, quote, "After all these years, I still don't know how that thing flew. There was no engine," end quote. So after hearing this side of the story, which I may add is the only side of the story, it should be quite obvious that the crash involved extraterrestrials, and that the US government has been hiding this fact from the public ever since. Other examples that I will spend less time on, as they are thoroughly covered in the website, include the Kecksburg UFO incident. In 1965, a blazing blue fireball crashed into the surrounding Pennsylvania area. The resulting sound was so loud it created sonic booms and frightened many in and around the town. The government was quick to state that this was a meteor, despite multiple witnesses saying otherwise. Additionally, in 2015, the US Department of Defense recorded the tracking of an unidentified flying object off the east coast of the United States. This is obviously an alien ship, as it was extremely difficult to track and locate, and it was traveling too fast to be a drone. The government says otherwise, of course. My final point to prove once and for all that aliens are among us, and information is just being withheld from us by the government, is the fact that an alien spaceship was discovered floating through our solar system. This photo contains many elements that would be difficult to construct naturally. UFO researchers say it's very likely to be from an unearthly species. The government, once again, claims that it is just an asteroid. In conclusion, extraterrestrials are most certainly living among us today, but because the world government officials, it is difficult to spot them. Fortunately for us, they have made many clumsy errors that we can investigate.